What's up guys, it's Philly215 here, and today I'm going to show you how to put your face on a dollar bill. In this case, a $100 bill. Okay, so right off the bat, you could get this this image of a $100 bill just straight off Google. Just Google $100 bill. So right now, this is what we're working with. Right off the bat, the image that you get off of Google is big as shit. So you're gonna want to go up in the toolbar and go to Image. And go down to image size. Click on that, and as you'll notice, the image is just huge. So you want to make sure that this is clicked right here, this little paper clip looking thing, so that it makes everything like proportionate when you shrink it down. Everything maintains its aspect ratio. So we're going to type in 1280, and a good size is 1280 by 720, but we don't want to distort the bill. So that's the reason we click this. So just leave it as it is and let it rock out. It's really no big deal. So there we go. It's going to come down. Now hit Control and then the plus sign on your keyboard. Hold Control and the plus sign, and that will zoom in Photoshop. So now here we go. Now here's the same, same $100 bill. It's just resized now. So now we could get a little more into the nitty-gritty of removing Ben Franklin from the bill. So let's zoom in one more time, and what we're gonna want to do here is we're gonna click the clone stamp tool right here along the side. So we're gonna go ahead and click that, and what this is going to do is you're gonna hold Alt on the keyboard, and you're gonna click pretty much what the clone stamp tool does is where you click anywhere on a picture, and it's gonna duplicate wherever you click, and it's gonna then put it somewhere else. So we're gonna go ahead and then take this background right here and try and erase Ben Franklin from the inside of the bill. Now the tricky part to this is you'll notice here, once I go ahead and take a sample and I start clicking, that a very minute you can barely see it, it's a plus sign, but that's where it's taking the sample from. So if you go ahead and start moving over, it's going to start duplicating all the outside of the circle right there. So we're going to hit Control Z to undo that, and we're pretty much, it's just time consuming. It takes a little bit of time. I would definitely recommend just taking your time, really, because it's very easy to fuck this up. So I'm gonna keep taking samples here, and I guess I'm just gonna start working my way down. It's a little hard with what we're working with right now. Alright, so I'm getting rid of that. So as of right now, as you can see, that one line just keeps coming back, but we'll deal with that in just a second. So I'm gonna go ahead and click that. Alright, I'm gonna click over here. Alright, so just to save time, I'm gonna go ahead and speed this up, and you'll see the finished product of what I'm doing. Now all I'm doing is just clicking Alt and grabbing samples of an area, and then I'm just trying to erase pretty much Ben Franklin from the bill. So I'm gonna go ahead and speed it up. Okay guys, there we go. So I removed Ben Franklin from the $100 bill, and right now it's pretty good. I mean, getting it perfect is really hard. I mean, if you really took your time, then maybe you could get it perfect. As you can notice, it definitely doesn't look like it looked like before. It's, a little more gray, and you can't really make the lines out as well, but it's passable. It's definitely passable. So the next thing we're going to do is as you can tell, a little bit of his shoulder is still visible here. So this is where we're then going to hold Alt again, and we're going to actually zoom in, Control +, and then hold the space bar, and then you could go ahead and grab and move down. Now we're going to go ahead and hold Alt, and we're going to take a copy of pretty much anywhere right here, and we're going to try and bring it over, and then we're going to try and take this circle and extend it down a little more, and that will get rid of the shoulder. So we're going to hold Alt, and as you can see, it's bringing it over. So we could go ahead and do that. So now, as you can see, it's kind of overlapping the one right here. So actually, I think we might have to go down in our brush size here and try this. Okay. So I'm going to actually retake a sample here just to make sure we're good. And that looks pretty good right here. So there we go. I just clicked. I'm going to take another sample. And I'm going to go ahead and click again. So as you can see, it's bringing it over a little more. Alright, now we're going to take a sample. I'm going to try and get the lowest point on the bottom of the circle right here. And there we go. We could go ahead and bring that down. And there we go. So it's pretty passable. I mean, you know, maybe we could bring it over just a little more at the bottom right here. I'll go ahead and click and bring it right around there. All right, so we're good. I mean, that's about as good as we can get. There's really not too much more we could do, but that's definitely passable. While we're down at this part of the $100 bill, we could go ahead and erase Franklin's name from the ribbon right here, and we could go ahead and then put whatever you want, your name, anything like that. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and Control + and zoom in, and we're going to get our pen tool. And you want to be pretty accurate here. It really doesn't matter, honestly, how sloppy you are. You just want to be accurate that you don't, that you cover the whole name. So as you can see, I'm going to click right above here, right below here. So I'm clearly getting around Franklin. No part of the word will be left once I do this. Now I'm just clicking with the pen tool. And we want to make sure we click around the name. And so far, so good. Alright, so right here, I'm about to finish it. Now it's clicked. Now all these dots are selected. You want to go ahead and within the box right here, you want to right click and click Make Selection. Once you do that, make sure that the feather radius is on 0. There's no reason to feather it. Go ahead and click that. And before you do anything more, you want to go over to your layer panel here, and you want to make sure, I'm going to move this out of the way, you want to make sure that you click and drag this lock here down to the trash can, and that will unlock the layer, giving us the ability to actually delete this. So you're going to hit delete on the keyboard, and that'll get rid of it. But actually, wait, no, Control Z that. What we're actually going to want to do here is, let's see. I think we don't even have to do that. I'm going to right click here. I'm trying to figure out how am I doing this. Actually, you know what, yeah, just fuck it. Hit delete and then Control D, and that will deselect everything right there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to Control +. We could go ahead and grab the space bar and move down. And what we're going to do here is right where your gradient tool is, we're going to go ahead and click here and hold and grab the paint bucket tool. And then we're going to go down here, and here is our foreground and our background colors. Right now my foreground is on black. We're going to go ahead and click that. And now we get this eyedropper tool. Once you have the eyedropper tool, you can go ahead and click anywhere on a picture, and it will take a sample and automatically bring that in your color panel here to use. So we want to grab that yellow that was there. So we could go ahead and grab, let's see, right there. That looks great. So we grabbed it. Now we got the bucket tool selected here, paint bucket tool, and we're going to go ahead and put it right there. So up close it looks a little bad, but once you zoom out, it looks perfect. So there we go. We're going to go ahead and then we'll leave that alone for right now. Next part is we got to get a picture. We got to get the picture that you want to drag in for, you know, the $100 bill. So we're going to go ahead and select our move tool, and I've already gone to the liberty of finding a picture I want to put in. So here's a picture of me. First thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to get, you know, rid of the whole background. So what we're going to do that is, I believe it's the fourth one. Yeah, it's the fourth one from the top. So it's the move tool. I believe this is rectangular marquee tool, the lasso tool, and then quick selection tool. That's what we want. Click the quick selection tool, and to make it bigger, you want to use the right bracket, and to make it smaller, you want the left bracket. And if you hold shift, it is a plus sign, so you could keep adding in things with shift. You don't have to do it, it automatically does it, but for instance, if we hold Alt instead of Shift, you see that inside the circle turned into a minus symbol. That will then start subtracting from the selection. So we could go ahead and then deselect. So just so you guys kind of, you know, are keeping up with me here. So we're going to go ahead and Control plus sign, zoom in, and I'm going to go ahead and use the left bracket and make my quick selection tool slightly smaller, and I'm going to start trying to select everything. Now you want to be as careful as possible, but I'm going to go ahead and make the mistake that most people are going to make and select, you know, some stuff I don't want. So, you know, I'm trying to get my hat here, and I'm getting a little bit of the house in back of me and everything like that. So just do the best you can, and I'll show you how to fix it when the time comes. So as you can see, I selected a lot of what I don't want, but that's alright. So I'm going to go ahead and just select the rest of me here. You know, alright, so I'm going to hold the space bar and move down. As you can see, you know, some of the railings getting selected here. But, alright, so for the most part, I generally got everything I needed. So now we're going to go ahead and start getting rid of the bigger things. You know, the things we don't want. So make sure that, your quick selection tool is pretty small. Around that size will be good. So Control plus sign, zoom in, space bar, let's move up here. And we're going to go ahead and hold Alt and start clicking and subtracting some of this selection here. Now here's where you want to be a little bit accurate so that it could go ahead and do its job of attaching itself to where you want it to be. So it's okay if it goes too far in. That's more easily fixable than when it goes too far out. So as you can see, I'm doing the best job I can here, and I deselected everything going on in the background. So let's move down, and as you can see, we're gonna Control plus sign, move in a little bit, a space bar to move back up, and we're gonna, the smaller your quick selection tool is, the more accurate it is. So I'm going to go ahead and then do the, you know, the precise stuff right here, along with deselecting the stuff we don't want, like the background. So a little bit of the chair in the background got selected. Alright, so everything's good right here. We're going to keep moving down. A little bit of the grass got selected. We're going to hold Alt and subtract that as well. Alright, so we got that. Alright, so here comes the little bit more, not difficult, but, you know, things you want to pay attention to. Like the spaces in between my arms here. So we're going to hold Alt, and we're going to try and get that right here. So that might be a little bit of my shirt. I'm not quite sure, but for the hell of it, you know, we could grab it anyway. Once again, I'm not quite sure, but it doesn't really matter. I could totally play that off as, you know, something we needed to take out. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep going. We're gonna add in my shirt here. Once again, if you just let go of the Alt key and then you start pressing, that will then start expanding and selecting what you want. Okay, so also a little bit over near the steps got selected, so we're gonna hold Alt and we're gonna try and get rid of that right here. So far so good. I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit of my arm in here as well. Now, you know, once again, it doesn't have to be 100%. It's always fixable. So a little bit of the railing here as well. I think we might be good. Let's see here. Yup, that looks totally fine. Once again, remember also, we're putting this inside a dollar bill, so like the lower half of the picture honestly doesn't even matter, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Next thing we're going to want to do is, right up here under the window tab, there's a button that says Refine Edge. And what you want to do is you want to click that, and that's going to kind of show what's going on with your selection. So as we could tell, or see here, that some of that railing is still selected, so we can go ahead and X out of this. And a good way that we can fix that is just up the size of our quick selection tool, hold Alt, and start selecting the railing here, wherever it might also have, you know, some small pixels that got selected. So we're going to go ahead and Refine Edge again, and a little bit over here as well is selected, so we could go ahead and quick bang that out, zoom in, hold Alt, and I think we got it. Alright, so this is where you definitely want to zoom in and maybe make the quick selection tool slightly smaller. So there we go. Fucking bastard. Alright, there we go. So that should be good. Let's see, Refine Edge. Alright, there we go, perfect. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit so we can see what's going on here. Refine Edge, and we're going to want to move the smooth up a little bit. Now, how smooth you want it to be is totally up to you. If you go all the way, then the spaces between my arms and stuff like that, smaller detail, it will just totally be smoothed out and you won't be able to see it. So I don't want that. I want them to be visible, but I still want, you know, it not to look like this and horrible. So for me, I'm just eyeballing it, and I think right around 35 is good for me. So we are going to hit OK, and that's going to then correct our selection. And right now, I am selected. Just all of me is selected. So if we were to hit delete, it would delete me. We want to reverse that. So we want to go up to our tabs and hit select inverse. And once you do that, it will then select all the background around me, and we could go ahead and, before hitting delete, once again, you need to remember, go over to your layer panel and trash that lock icon so that we can delete it. So then hit delete, and there we go. It just deleted everything around me, and it looks great, you know, totally great. So we could then hit our move tool and move, you know, just go ahead and grab the picture, click and hold, and drag it into the tab you want to move it into. And once it's, you know, in here, a square box should come around the thing, and then you could just let go, and it'll drop it in. So this looks nice, but keep in mind we're not trying to fit our whole body in here. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure that the layer that you are in, that the person you're trying to put in $1 is selected, and you want to go ahead and hit Control T, and that is now going to I forget the right word for it. It's it transforms it. So what that does is now we can move it around, which you can already do with the move tool, but as you notice, there's squares in each corner now that you could resize it. And what we're going to do here is we're going to hold Shift and Alt and then click on the corner and drag it inwards or outwards. So I'm actually going to drag it outwards to make me bigger. And I think I'll make me about that big. And you want to make sure you let go of just the left button, you know, whatever you're clicking. Let go of that first. So there we go. And I think that's about good. That looks fine to me. There we go. So there's that, and just to make sure it's okay, let's zoom in and take a look. And maybe we can move it down a little bit. There we go. Alright, so now this is what we got. This is what we're working with. And I think this is perfectly fine. Now, we gotta obviously fit us in the circle. So here's where this nice... Damn it. I was still selected on the thing. Alright, so... Hold on, I gotta zoom in again. Let's go ahead and make sure this is right. Alright. Okay. So make sure you are clicking and holding, or holding space, clicking and dragging so that you don't by accidentally move your layer. Okay, so obviously, as you can tell from eyeballing it, I'm centered within the circle. And what we're going to do now here is we're going to go over to our layer panel, and there's opacity right here. And that's obviously, if you lower that down, then you become transparent, and you start lowering the opacity and you'll eventually disappear. So what we're going to do is make sure you are clicked on the person, and we're going to lower the opacity down to 50. And what we're going to do with that is once it's on 50, now we can kind of see what we're doing. So I'm going to hold space and move down a little bit. And what we're going to do here is we're then going to click on the dollar bill. So everything we're doing right now, once a certain layer is selected, so now the dollar bill is selected. So if I were to grab the eraser right now and start trying to erase me, it wouldn't work because I'm only selected on the dollar bill. I would have to click on the dollar bill and hold shift and then click on me for it to affect both, which I don't even think it would work because I'm getting this message right now that it wouldn't work like that. So we are clicked on the dollar bill, and what we're actually going to do is, you could do this multiple ways. You could do it with the eraser. The way I'm going to do it is the magic lasso, just as a rough kind of rough way to do it. So Control plus, and then we're going to go ahead and drag down here. And you want to just, this tool, you literally just drag with it. So I'm going to click and drag and try and do the best job I can. So I'm just dragging. You know, you want to kind of take your time a little bit here. So I'm dragging. And I'll show you how this is going to work in just a second. So right along here should be good. Doesn't have to be perfect. Don't worry about it. Alright, so then drag it all the way around in a big circle. Keep dragging and then let it go where you started. So there we go. There's our selection. And we can then go ahead and click delete. Actually, wait, Control Z that. I just forgot the most important step. Before you hit delete, make sure you then click on the person so that it only deletes you. So hit delete, and there we go. The bottom half of us just disappeared, and then we could Control D that. And how we're going to now do this is we're going to grab our eraser tool, and then we could go ahead and eyeball it a little more. So hit the left bracket, and that will lower the size. And we could then go ahead. Also, if you click up here, right next to where this eraser picture is, in this box, you could select certain things like the size, which you could use with the brackets. I think that's easier. But here's the hardness. If you up the hardness all the way, it will just straight delete wherever the cursor is. The softer it is, it will kind of fade it a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll make it hard. Why not? Alright, so we want to go ahead and just delete everything that's kind of going on here. Make it a little more official. And I think that's good. Actually, no, right here needs to be deleted. Alright. And yep, right here also. Alright. So, as you can see, there it goes. And then we could up the opacity again, back to normal. So there we go. Now we're inside, you know, the $100 bill. And, you know, once again, if you really want to be anal about it and make it perfect, you know, you could use the pen tool to be really precise, you know, when you're deleting the bottom half. This is just a rough draft to just show you how to do it. So, now that we got this, we're going to make sure that we are clicked on the person, and we're going to go to Image, Adjustments, and Desaturate. And that's going to turn us black and white. Now, since this dollar bill isn't like crumbled and everything, if you had a crumbled dollar bill or anything like that, I would suggest going to Google and trying to find like a texture pattern that matches a dollar bill and just overlay it above the layer of the person. But this dollar bill is like crisp as shit, so making us all crumpled up and stuff, that would just look bad. But I do have an effect that I'll show you in just a moment. So what we're next going to want to do is, now that we're still clicked on me here, on the person, go to Image, Adjustments, and then Color Balance. And I would suggest bringing this to about, I don't know, I'd say about a 7. A 7's fine. As you can notice, I'm starting to get greener and greener and greener. But obviously we don't want, you know, the person to be that green, so we just eyeball it. And, I mean, it's really, you know, up to you how much you add in. I think, trying to see here. Let's do like 13. Whatever. Just a little something something. So we can go ahead and click OK. And that made us just slightly a little more the color of the dollar bill. So next up is, once again, I don't want myself to look all crumpled, but I still want to look like I'm there. So we're going to zoom in a little bit so that you can see the difference here. So I'm going to just grab it and zoom in. Alright, so we're going to go to Image, Adjustments, or actually no, we're going to go to Filter, and we're going to go to Noise, and Add Noise. And as you can see, it does a little something. So if I deselect the preview, that's before and after. I would suggest going with just 2.45 because the more you add in, it gets all crazy. But if you just add a little bit, like 2.45 before, after, it just gives it a texture. So, you know, it's just subtlety. It makes it look more realistic, at least in my opinion. So there we go. Once again, you know, since you were clicked on the person, it only does the effect to, you know, me and not the whole dollar bill. But I still think it sells it a little bit. It just looks nice. So we're almost done here, guys. Next thing you want to go ahead and do is we want to add the name in. So I'm going to add Philly21500. You could go ahead and add whatever you want, but I'm going to show you the correct way to do this as well. So you're going to go ahead and click right over here where the T is, the horizontal type tool. And you want to make sure that the size is like on 4. And you could go ahead and adjust that by clicking on these double T's here and dragging right or left. In this case, you want to drag left till it's like about a 4. It doesn't have to be, just around that area. And you want to go ahead and click here and type in whatever you want. Now, actually, I'm going to go ahead and delete this real quick because you want to make sure up here in the left-hand corner where it says Arial, you could go ahead and make that whatever you want, whatever type of font you want. I'm going to go ahead and make it the font I always use, Chunk 5. And we're going to go ahead and click. And I'm going to go ahead and type out we could adjust the color in a second. Philly 21500. And click our Move tool to get out of adding text into that. And since my foreground color, or my color for text, was for some reason a baby blue, we could go ahead over here and click where the A next to like a line is. And that will open up pretty much, I forget the technical term for it, but you could adjust all things like the color and stuff. So click Color and drag that all the way down to the bottom left-hand corner and make that black. And you'll see the reason behind that in a second. So we could go ahead and click these double arrows here to minimize that. And now with our text layer selected, you want to hit Control-T, and that will then free transform it. We're going to hold Shift and Alt, because if you just hold Shift, it just, you can only drag it one way. So I'm going to see if I could make a good example here. So Shift, and see, it'll just drag it that way. But if you hold Alt and Shift, then it will shrink the whole thing. So we're going to go ahead, and actually I'm going to go ahead and zoom in so I can be a little more precise here. We're going to hold Shift and Alt. We're going to drag it down. And I'm going to go ahead and see. We got to make it a little bigger. So once again, it just all goes off eyeballing it, really. And that looks good. Actually, no. Hold up. we want to make it the right size here. Hold on. Oh, okay, so I've been clicking too soon, and I'm fucking it all up here. Hold up. I didn't tell you guys to do anything wrong, I did something wrong. So, once again, I'm gonna go back, and I'm gonna try this again. Philly 21500. Make sure you hold the Alt and, or Shift and Alt, because I guess I clicked too soon and I didn't do it, so Control T, Shift Alt, and we're gonna go ahead and try this again. So there we go. And I know why it's all weird. I'm gonna go up to my character panel and actually hold on. We're gonna hit Enter, and that will deselect the free transform we just had going on, and click back up in the character panel here. And my the height of my lettering is way too high, so I'm gonna go ahead and try and shrink that down a little bit back to like normal here. Alright, that's fine. Alright, we're gonna go back to Control T, and let's see, is this good right here? Yeah, this is about, let's go right there. Alright, so next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and actually I might just want to shrink that just a tiny bit. Alright, so we're gonna hit Enter, and now we're gonna go ahead and right click on the text layer here and go to Warp Text. And once you do that, here's the style, and it's on none right now. You want to put it to Arc, and just literally from this point on, just eyeball it, and obviously move it left to then, you know, the way you want it to be. So right now, let me see here. Once again, we can move this text as well. I think we might have to shrink it down just a little bit. We definitely will have to. I'm gonna go ahead and Control T that, and you know, it's just Photoshop's a lot of trial and error, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do this, and let's see. I want to make sure that it's right on the money. I think it might be, we might have to fix that warping a little bit. Alright, so right click, Warp Text, and there we go. Let's move it a little bit, and there we go. So it looks bad, it looks all pixelated because we're very zoomed in right now. But if we go ahead and hit Control and the minus sign, that will zoom us out. And it looks really official when you zoom out. Now, the reason I wanted the color to be just full-blown black is we could go ahead and click on the text layer and lower the opacity, which I would suggest doing it to about 80. I would say 80's fine. So, there we go, guys. That is pretty much, I'm going to zoom out all the way. That's the finished product, and you know, once again, if you want to be really anal about it and make everything, you know, proper, you know, I just did this really quick as an example. I think it all looks great. I mean, I think the placement looks great. You know, the lettering of me inside here. Obviously, as you could tell, it's very choppy and it doesn't look as professional as I want it to right now. But, you know, once again, you know, you could click the eraser tool and put on a soft brush and just mess with it from this point. So hold on, gotta click on this layer, and you know, just as you could, hold on, I'll lower it down, and you know, we could fix it a little bit so it doesn't look as fucking choppy. And I mean, obviously it's not perfect, but you know, once again, if you want it to be perfect, just go back in and, you know, just do the subtle adjustments like I'm doing right now. You know, this was just a quick representation of what you could do and how you could do it. Look at that. It's already a lot more smoother. Go ahead and do that. And yeah, so it's just that was just a quick representation. But there you go, guys. That's how you could go ahead and put yourself within, money. If you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to leave them in the comment section down below, and I will do my best to get back to you and maybe make a second video if need be. Thanks for watching, and as always, it's Philly 2 and 5. Peace!